You will not force both the kids to know their parents for 8, which is the summer.
Okay, I think everyone's here. Can we start the session? Can we start the session, the moral maze session of the afternoon, which is the last of the plenary sessions of this tremendous conference. Let me just explain very briefly what it is. Most of you, many of you, will know what the moral maze is because the BBC has a radio program, a popular radio program, which goes out in the evening, which poses a moral question. Question of contemporary morality to a number of witnesses, 3 on each side, and they take differing views, and there's a panel of 4 or 5 people who ask them questions as to what their view means, and then at the end these experts sum up. And that's more or less what we'll do, but we'll do it slightly differently. The witnesses are all former fellows from different countries, and we'll pose them the same question. We have posed them the same question. The proposition is that the media cover politics badly, and the new media are not going to be any better. But they don't have to divide up for and against. They can talk to their, and should talk to their experience of their own countries and how politics and society are covered by their media. Now we'll call them up one by one. They'll stand over there at the rostrum, and I'll ask them the first question, and then our experts here, whom I'll introduce in a second, will pepper them with questions for about 5 or 7 minutes. And then they'll go back to the seats, and the next one comes up. At the end of that, then it will be your turn to ask them, or indeed the panelists, questions as you wish, until the end of the session, and then we'll have a summing up. Nobody will win. Perhaps somebody will win. Maybe Jean wants to win.
Why don't you have a vote at the beginning and a vote at the end?
Right.
Okay.
We'll have I'll tell you what, I've got an idea. We'll have a vote at the beginning and a vote at the end. Just to make it more interesting.
Good to see the opinions change.
Right. Thanks very much, Jean. This will make it more exciting. It will make it very exciting because I don't know what we're voting on. I think what we're voting on is the media, and you will refer to both to your country and to other countries, cover politics very badly, and the new media won't be any better. Okay, you got it? So all of these in favor of the motion that your media cover politics very badly, and the new media of the net, social media and so on, won't make it any better. Please raise your hands. I would say, being scientific, about 10. No. Put them up again.
Substantially more.
There's more than that.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Right, as I said, about 20.
About 10.
About 20. Twice 10. Who's counting? He's counting. Who is against the proposition that the media cover politics badly and the new media won't be any better? Put your hand up. And we have a resident counter. Yes.
I think that's just north of 30.
30. Okay, well that's a nice round number. 20 to 30. 20 think they are this bad. 30 think it's not so bad. And unless Jean has more ideas, we shall start. And we'll go by strictly by alphabetical order. And the winner of the alphabetical order is somebody who wins on both first and second name. Achte from Finland. Anne. Anne, well, let me just ask the question. Do you think that the Finnish media cover politics badly? And if they do you think the new media will do it better?
Well, I do have arguments both for and against, but first I'd like to start that I think this is a mind-blowing start to this debate, as I represent one of the very irritating model Scandinavian countries who are, we are I think, the least corrupt country in the world, according to Transparency International. I think we're the second happiest, just behind Denmark. And I think we are doing quite well on the PISA research also, which is means that our school kids are extremely smart, among the smartest in the world. So
this is a broadcast by the Finnish government.
So I'm just trying to say that our journalism issues will probably sound very frivolous to most of you. But I'm glad that I'm able to start, because after that it can only get worse. So, so if I go back to your question, I think basically Finland is no different to other countries in the sense that people are bombarded with news from numerous sources nowadays in Finland too. And this means that in order to get your message across, the piece of news has to be short, simple, and it has to be catchy and interesting. So nobody has the time to listen to complicated explanations. So if politicians answer questions by the media, the journalists demand that the answers be either yes or no, or very short, good sound bites for radio and TV. And in part, this has led to the simplification of complicated political and social issues. I agree. And also because the media business is hectic and getting even more hectic. I mean, there are no deadlines. Instead, journalists have to get their piece of news out as soon as possible. The deadline was actually 2 hours ago. So I think there's a tendency to quote from other media, not verify as well as they used to. So things might get distorted. And also, because the attention span of the audience is getting shorter, I feel that there's probably only one piece of news that's in all media at the same time. So the media concentrates on just one piece of news for several days, and the media machine just grinds on, and sometimes, things get really out of proportion. But this, now I'm sounding quite bad. Like your journalism in Finland does have some problems, but having said all this, I really believe journalism can actually be better and get better and be more effective than before. Because, simplification.
Let me stop you there,
yeah, okay.
because others will draw out some of the other things you wish to say. Who wants to start?
Well, I'd just like to ask, what would be...
Sorry, I haven't introduced. This is Nick Fraser of Storyville and the BBC.
I said, what would be your idea of a really rich and interesting Finnish political scandal? Or is that a contradiction in terms?
Well, our political problems are really huge. Like there was a government minister who sent racy text messages to a dancing girl. Ooh.
A dancing girl?
Yeah. Well,
Lots of girls
that's the old phrase. Yeah. But
Just
actually,
text
the media machine.
Just dancing? Right.
And the media machine ground on and on and on, and finally the government minister had to resign.
That's a pretty big scandal.
Yeah. Big scandal.
Paul Taylor is worked for Reuters and has covered Europe for a long time.
Anna, a lot of what you describe obviously is generic to the media everywhere. The tyranny of real time, the lack of resource and time to check, and so on. But specifically Finland, one of the things that strikes me is the emergence of a sort of fairly virulently nationalist party, which has risen quite quickly to be about number 3 in the polls and number 4, I think, in the elections. What role, if any, do you think the media has had in the emergence of the true Finns, and how is the media doing, in your judgment, to hold the true Finns to account? You're glad I asked you that one.
Yeah, Actually, I think the emergence of the true Finns, as they are called, I think it's part the fault of the politicians and the media, because I think the media was too complacent and the politicians were too complacent before, and things were not presented in a way that the common person on the street, like we like to call them, would be able to understand. It was all very highbrow, and journalists had trouble admitting that they themselves might not really understand some complicated social issues. So I think it was our own fault, if you think that it's a fault that the true Finns emerged. So as to holding them account, well, it's quite difficult now because they are in opposition. They didn't want to take part in the government, which is a coalition government. So it's very difficult to, if you're in the opposition, you can basically say anything and bark from the background. But we are trying to, we always invite them, I work for radio, into the studio, and we ask them to explain themselves and not just throw out these catchy phrases. What do you mean? How would you make things better? So I think they thought that they would have an easy ride, but now they are realizing that the media is just as hard on them as everybody else.
Michael, did you want to come in?
I'm not sure we all know what the true Finns are and how they arose. Could you just fill in the background there?
I'm bad on introductions. Michael Parks is Professor of Journalism at the Allenberg Institute at UCLA and was editor of the Los Angeles Times.
Okay. Just to simplify things, the true Finns are just, you could compare them to UKIP here in Britain. Although the true Finns, they are just a populistic party. They have one star leader, and they don't really have an agenda that would be, that would cover all the areas of society. They just have one or two issues that they just try and bring about to discussion, like immigration and taxation and very simplistic things. So I would compare them to UKIP.
I mean,
Jean Seaton, who's Professor of Journalism History at Westminster University.
Can I just follow that up? Because there would be a criticism of the media in liberal democracies that they've become very elite and rather out of touch with and have a sort of contempt, particularly for issues around immigration, which there's a sort of simplistic, Dave Goodhart has written rather a challenging book on immigration, very interesting book on immigration. So to what extent did the Finnish media make the issue worse because they were so committed to a particular view of what was proper and Finnish and multicultural that they actually, as it looks as if the media over many Western liberal democracies have actually ignored and therefore not given proper political expression. So how far have I'd like to say what you've just said actually fits perfectly into that thing. They're these odd people, but they're not really serious.
Well,
but they jolly well are maybe very serious. And they may not be irrational.
No, but I was saying that I think the simplification and the emergence of true Finns has actually made journalism and also politics in Finland better. Right. Because now journalists have to really think about what they're doing and not just accept any jargon or try to hide behind complicated words. Media really has to try and make complicated issues understood by everybody. And so it's not geared towards the elite in the society as much as it used to be, especially political journalism. And I think the true Finns have helped bring immigration into public discussion and debate. Because I think
isn't
journalists...
Isn't that a media failure? That
yes.
All over Europe, immigration is a real issue if you're a
Yeah.
European, but the media ignored it, and so consequently it turned into
Yeah.
a very toxic political
We were
party.
trying
Hasn't
to
that
be-
been a media
yeah.
failure?
We were trying to be too politically correct, so to speak. But now I think people are not as afraid to bring out, even, I mean, there are problems with immigration, but before I think even the media was reluctant to discuss some of these things. But I think that's as racist as, being real racist. Yeah.
So we understand in Finland things can only get better.
That's my proposition. Yeah.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.